In this lesson, we're going to talk about solving equations with a blank space. There are a couple of important things to remember when you're working with equations. You can think of equations kind of as balanced scales. So if I just draw myself a balance beam here, and I'll just put an equation here. I'm going to say I got a blank space plus 5. And right here in the middle is the equals. I'm going to just say 10. So I have my blank space plus 5, and it's equal to 10. So these are balanced. They're equal right now. And whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the same thing to the other side of the equation to make sure that we keep balance. So since I have a blank space plus 5 here on the left-hand side, I want to get this blank by itself. Now if I'm adding 5, I have to remember what's going to undo adding 5. Well, I'm going to need to subtract 5. So I'm going to subtract 5 on this side. And to keep it balanced, I'm also going to subtract 5 on this side. So I've got my blank space plus 5 minus 5. Now you could rewrite that if you wanted to in a line so that you can see it really well. 10, and I subtract 5. Now right here, this plus 5 minus 5 adds to 0, and all that's left is this blank space. And 10 take away 5 is 5. So I have my blank space is equal to 5. Now if I want to check my solution, I can go back, put 5 in for the blank, and 5 plus 5, is that really equal to 10? 5 and 5 is 10, and 10 equals 10. So this does check. So there's a couple different things. Remember, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you need to do to the other side of the equation. You need to remember to do opposite operations. So if you have your blank space plus, you have to remember to subtract to get that blank space by itself. And also, go back and check your work. It can save you from simple mistakes. So now I'm going to look at example 1. And in example 1, we have our blank space plus 28 is equal to 5. So again, this is balance right here. We have this equal sign. And I've got a blank space, plus 28. So the operation that undoes addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 28. I do it to one side, I also have to do it to the other side of the equation. So now my blank space plus 28 and minus 28, all I'm going to have left on this side is my blank space. And it's going to be equal to 5 minus 28. Now 5 minus 28 might not be super obvious, but we're taking away a lot more than we have. So we know that this answer is going to be negative. Our blank space is going to be a negative number. To figure out how negative, we take 28 and we subtract the 5. 8 take away 5 gives me 3. 2 minus 0 is 2. So this is going to be negative 23. It looks like it's going to be negative 23. So what about checking the solution? I can put negative 23 in for that blank space, plus 28, and equals 5. Now as I'm doing this, there's nothing to do on this right hand side, so this is going to be equal to 5. I've got negative 28 plus 23. So that's like 28 minus 23. 8 minus 3 is 5. 2 minus 2 is 0. So I've got 5 equals 5. This solution checks out. And please hit the pause button and try practice 1. Alright, welcome back. We've got a blank space plus 13 here, and it's equal to 7. So we want to get our blank space by itself, and I've got a plus. To undo a plus, I've got to subtract. I subtract 13 from this side, I also need to take away 13 from the right-hand side. Now the blank space plus 13 minus 13 is just the blank space. 7 take away 13, that's going to be negative. How negative? Well, we have to take 13 and subtract the 7. We can't do that. So if 13 take away 7, that's going to be 6. So this answer is negative 6. Now I'm going to check my solution really quick. Negative 6 plus 13 as my blank space is 7. Is this really true? Well, if I have 13 and I take away 6, I've got 7. So 7 is equal to 7. So this does check. Nice job if you got 7. Now let's take a look at example 2. In example 2, we have the blank space minus 12 is equal to 15. Now we have a subtraction sign here, so the operation that undoes subtraction is addition. So we're going to have to add 12 to both sides. Now if I have negative 12 and I add 12, that gets me 0, so all that's left on the left-hand side is the blank space. And on the right-hand side we have 15 and 12. Well, 5 and 2 is 7, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So it looks like our blank space is 27. Let's check it. Switch back to black here. So 27 minus 12 is my blank space, my guess. Now if I have 27 and I take away 12, is it really going to be 15? Well, I've got 27 and I'll subtract 12. 7 minus 2 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. So on the left hand side we get 15, and on the right hand side we get 15. So it does check. Now please hit the pause button and try practice 2. Alright, welcome back. Now in practice 2 we have blank minus 9 is equal to 28. So I've got to undo subtraction. To undo subtraction, I'm going to add 9. Adding 9 to both sides. I get my blank space on the left. 28 plus 9. 8 and 9 is 17. So I have 7 and I carry the 1. 2 and 1 is 3. 37. I think my blank space is 37. Now I'm going to check it. 37, put it in for the blank space, minus 9 is 28. Now 37 minus 9, I can't take 9 away from 7, so I've got to borrow 2 here. 17, 17 take away 9 is 8, and 2 take away 0, nothing. So on the left hand side we get 28, and on the right hand side we get 28, so this checks. That is our solution. Alright, now in example 3, let's look here. We have 3 times negative 4 is equal to the blank space. So the blank space is already by itself. We just have an operation that needs to occur over here. This is a positive number multiplied by a negative number, and if we have a positive times a negative, we know our answer is going to be negative. 3 times 4 gives me 12. So 3 times 4 is 12. Negative 12 is the blank space. Now in this case we can check it if we want to, but it's kind of interesting. I'll just do it so that we see what it looks like. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So we just put negative 12 in for the blank space here, and really 3 times negative 4, again we have a positive times a negative, that's going to be negative. 3 times 4 is 12, and so you just had an operation to do on the left to solve for the blank on the right. So it checks out. It's always a good idea to do to check your work just in case you make a simple mistake or any mistake. Why don't you pause now and try practice 3. Alright, welcome back. So again we have negative 2 times 8, and it's equal to the blank space. The blank space is already by itself. We just need to do negative 2 times 8. Well, a negative times a positive is going to give us a negative. 2 times 8 is 16. And so negative 16 looks like it's going to be equal to the blank space. So check it. Negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. Put that in there. Negative 2 times 8 is going to be a negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 8 is 16. I get negative 16 equals negative 16, and it checks. All right. So now on example 4, we have another multiplication type problem, but our blank space is on the left-hand side, and there's a number beside it. So this is slightly different than what we had above. Again, we want to get this blank space by itself. We have negative 6 times the blank space is equal to 18. Well, we always have to undo this operation, whatever's between our numbers and our blank space. And so this is a multiplication problem, and so we have to undo multiplication by dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6. If I take negative 6, divide it by negative 6, those cancel out, and all that's going to be left on the left-hand side is this blank space. And on the right-hand side, I've got to do 18 divided by negative 6. So now I have a positive number divided by a negative number. So that's going to be a negative 6 goes into 18 3 times, so my blank space is negative 3. Now to check my solution, I go negative 6 times, I'm going to put my negative 3 in for the blank, and see if it really is 18. Well, I've got a negative 6 times a negative 3, so that's a negative times a negative. Two negatives become a positive when you're multiplying. So it's going to be positive. 6 times 3 is 18, and so I've got 18 equals 18. So it checks. Why don't you pause this now and try practice 4. Alright, welcome back. Now with this problem we have negative 7 times the blank space is equal to 84. We need to get this blank space by itself. I've got to undo multiplying. So to undo multiplying, I'm going to divide by negative 7. Dividing both sides by negative 7 to keep the equation equal. Negative 7 divided by negative 7 is 1. So these guys divide out. All that's left on the left-hand side is my blank space. 84 divided by negative 7. Well, I have a positive divided by negative, so that's going to get me a negative. And 84 divided by 7. 7 goes into 8 one time. And there's 1 left over. I'm going to bring down my 4. 7 goes into 14 twice. 2 times 7 is 14. Take away the 14. So that gets me exactly 12. So my blank space is negative 12. All right, to check my work, I've got negative 7 times negative 12 equals 84. That's what I think. Now I've got a negative times a negative, so that's going to be a positive. 7 times 12, let's see, that'd be 70 plus another 14, so that'd be 84. 84 is 84, and it checks. This concludes our lesson on equations with a blank space. Thank you for your time.